We are all shaped by our past experiences, but what happens when the past holds secrets that have been buried for years? After all, there are still discoveries that baffle historians, archaeologists, and scientists. Get ready to uncover the secrets of the past and perhaps even gain new knowledge. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into the mysteries of the past. Nazis and Norse runes. A very strange discovery was made at an airfield in Denmark during the Second World War. It was a brooch inscribed with ancient Norse runes. The story behind this brooch is one that not many people know. It was part of an effort on behalf of the Nazis to use Norse runes to enhance their evil schemes. It all started in 1944 when a Danish citizen uncovered a skeleton and several pieces of jewelry about 3 feet underground during the construction of the airfield. The inspector at the National Museum of Denmark investigated the discovery and found the brooch. It had runic script on one side, paired with a swastika. At the time the brooch was made, the swastika had been the symbol of the sun, used by people of Europe for thousands of years before the Nazis took it for themselves. Many Nazis believed not only that the Germanic race was superior to others but also that its roots could be traced back to the Vikings. Part of their propaganda was that runic script was the first script in the world and that it was all part of their past. In an attempt to rewrite history for themselves, the Nazis taught that runes came before all other written languages, which is simply not true. The brooch was treated by the Nazis as proof of their divine heritage. Still, when the discovery was published in Danish newspapers in 1945, the paper skillfully photoshopped the swastika out of the photos. The Sorcerers Graffiti. The Tower of London has been a place of great misery over the centuries. This iconic landmark was once a powerful fortress used by the nation's royalty, but now it is just a museum. One of the most interesting parts of the Tower of London is the Salt Tower, which was primarily used as a prison. In a prison, its walls are covered in graffiti left behind by unwilling men and women locked inside. Many of these prisoners left their mark before they were sent off to greet the executioner. One of these captives was a man named Hugh Draper in the 16th century. He was an innkeeper in the city of Bristol who was sent to the Salt Tower after being accused of sorcery. Historical records show that Draper denied the accusations put against him. He admitted that he had a slight interest in magic, but he definitely didn't practice it. And yet an engraving carved into the wall of the tower reveals that Draper knew a lot about the occult. To this very day, there is an astrological sphere carved with great detail, showing the signs of the zodiac. Clearly, Draper believed in magic. Most of the tower is riddled with crosses and Jesuit monograms, all symbols of the Christian faith drawn by prisoners before their deaths. But Hugh Draper's astrological sphere shows an entirely different kind of prisoner. There were indeed sorcerers in the 1500s, but what exactly they knew about magic and forbidden knowledge is unknown. All we have are their symbols carved in stone. Canadian gold. A very old gold coin was recently discovered on the island of Newfoundland in Canada. The coin appears to be the oldest one of its kind ever discovered in the region. Local archaeologist Jamie Brake says the coin is about 600 years old, meaning it predates the first European contact with North America, not including the much earlier visit from the Vikings. But how and why the coin found its way to Newfoundland is a mystery. All we know right now is that it was discovered by a man named Edward Hines on the south coast of the island. The exact location is being kept a secret, out of fear that someone will pillage the site. The gold coin was minted in London between 1422 and 1427, and it was worth 1 shilling and 8 pence. It was minted 70 years before John Cabot first landed on the shores of Newfoundland in 1497. But no one can agree on whether the coin got there before John Cabot or was dropped by a later settler. That coin could have been in circulation for over a century. Something like that wouldn't have been very unusual for the 15th century. On the other hand, the coin could have been lost by an even earlier explorer, someone who has been completely forgotten by history. The Hypatia stone is an enigma that scientists can't seem to figure out. The mystery began in 1996 when it was discovered in Egypt. The stone was believed to be extraterrestrial in origin. Then, when a team of researchers from the University of Johannesburg got hold of it in 2013, they confirmed its extraterrestrial origins. In 2015, another group of scientists analyzed the stone further, conducting a nuclear probe and gas analysis. They were shocked to see that it did not come from any recognized comet or meteorite. In fact, nobody knows where the stone came from or what it's made of. Scientists uncovered microscopic diamonds inside the rock. They also believe it may have impacted Earth about 28 million years ago. However, its unusual chemistry continues to prevent scientists from properly identifying it. Some have suggested it may have broken off from Mars or Venus. Some say it's the interstellar dust coating the space rock that can't be identified. Others believe the stone's elemental chemistry is the result of being part of a supernova explosion. This small piece of rock may have been part of an exploding star in another galaxy, propelled like intergalactic shrapnel all the way to our own planet. Sandy object. A strange and mysterious object was unearthed following a hurricane in Florida. A huge object buried underneath the sand was found near Frank Rendon Park in Daytona Beach shores. Officials were stumped trying to figure out what in the world this thing was. Part of the structure was revealed after Hurricane Ian, and then even more of it after Hurricane Nicole. It looks like the busted hull of a boat from hundreds of years ago. However, it also kind of looks like a gigantic fossilized dinosaur spine. The discovery is significant, especially because the erosion on the beach is unprecedented. The two hurricanes scraped the beach clean, removing a vast layer of sand. This revealed the buried wooden structure, which appears to be at least 100 feet long. Several weeks later, and we still do not know what the object is. Scientists are busy trying to unearth the thing from the sand, which is not an easy task. It seems like it could belong to a ship, but presently, nobody knows for sure. Message in a bottle. A local mom in Edinburgh, Scotland couldn't believe her luck when she found a message in a bottle hiding underneath the floorboards of her house. The message is 135 years old, written in 1887. It was rolled into an empty whiskey bottle, placed underneath the floor, and left there since Victorian times. It was only discovered when local plumber Peter Allen was working on a project in early October 2022. He coincidentally cut through the floorboards at the exact place where the bottle was stashed. The owner of the home then waited for her children to come home before she uncorked the bottle to read what was written on the small piece of paper inside. They did not know if it would be a treasure map, somebody's last will and testament, or what. They tried to get the note out of the bottle with tweezers, but only managed to tear the paper. Not knowing what to do, they broke the bottle just to get the message out. The message read, "James Ritchie and John Grieve laid this floor, but did not drink the whiskey. October 6, 1887. Whoever finds this bottle may think our dust is blowing along the road." It was a strange and pretty random discovery, but it goes to show that you never know what kind of treasures might be hiding underneath your own floorboards. On November 16, 1922, Eric Lowes, a farmer living in the village of Hoxne, lost his hammer. To find it, he went into the field with a metal detector, which he had received as a retirement gift. Lowes looked around the field and tried to find the lost tool. When the metal detector picked up a strong signal, Lowes thought he had stumbled upon a large piece of metal. He set about digging, but it quickly became clear that his find was incredibly valuable. After digging up a few handfuls of earth mixed with gold and silver coins, Lowes realized that there was much more on the farm. Soon he stopped digging and contacted the authorities. They, in turn, enlisted the help of the local archaeological society and asked experts to inspect the site. The next day, the researchers carefully excavated a piece of farmland. Then everything they found was transported to a safe place, where every part of the find could be studied under laboratory conditions. The treasure weighed almost 27 kilograms and contained 15,234 gold, silver, and bronze coins, 200 gold objects, and dozens of silver spoons. Fortunately for Lowe's, the British government rewarded him for his incredible find with a hefty sum of £1.75 million. He was also thanked for leaving the treasure untouched. The archaeologists who worked on the excavation also received generous remuneration. In the end, the project in which they worked became known as the largest treasure trove found in Great Britain. When Buffy Bailey and her husband Ian used a metal detector to search for treasure on farmland near York, they didn't expect to find anything special. Hearing the familiar beep of the device, Buffy thought she was about to discover something insignificant, like a tag from a sheep's ear or a lid from a beverage can. Soon, however, the couple dug out a small golden object from the ground. It weighed less than an ounce and was about 1.5 inches long. The artifact was shaped like a book and was most likely made in the 15th century. The book was made of 22 or 24 karat gold, making it one of the most valuable finds of the past few years. The artifact is engraved with images of Saints Leonardo and Marguerite, the patrons of childbirth. Archaeologists and historians believe the book belonged to a relative of King Richard III of England. It may have been owned by his wife, and Neville, who kept the talisman with her during pregnancy and childbirth. After examining the artifact, experts have determined that its value is about $130,000, and possibly more. But its value goes beyond its face value. According to historians, the book dates back to a time when laws forbade anyone but the nobility from wearing gold. A curious burial has been discovered in a medieval grave near the Italian city of Bologna. The remains belong to a pregnant woman who lived between the 7th and 8th centuries, Old Style. Researchers who discovered and excavated the grave in 2010 were puzzled by what they saw. The woman apparently had a head injury, but the most tragic thing about her grave was the tiny skeleton between her legs. Postmortem childbirth is a controversial phenomenon. It is a phenomenon in which the infant is somehow squeezed out of the mother's body. In most cases, the baby also ends up dead. But some testimonies claim that there are cases of live births in coffins. According to archaeologists, the woman died about 38 weeks pregnant. The baby's head was below the pelvic cavity at the time of death, which means the woman was close to giving birth. Theoretically, the cervix should not relax after death, which means the baby should remain inside. Some experts suggest that the buildup of gas inside the cadaver could lead to the mechanical expulsion of the fetus from the body. Do you believe in reincarnation? Regardless of your answer, the story of Dorothy Eady is sure to interest you. Dorothy was born in January 1904 into a happy family. She was a cheerful child who was naturally curious about everything around her. However, her life was almost cut short, at least that's what her parents thought at first. Dorothy was pronounced dead after she fell down a long spiral staircase. This was not the case, though. A few hours after the fall and her supposed last breath, she was found upright and restless on her bed. After the accident, Dorothy's behavior and mood changed. When the family went to the British Museum in 1908, her parents noticed that Dorothy was paying particular attention to Egyptian artifacts. Dorothy sat down near one of the preserved mummies and begged her parents to let her stay there because she wanted to be with her people. She also knelt down to kiss the feet of one of the statues, which naturally caused bewilderment in those around her. After the family visited the museum, Dorothy had a dream. She found herself in an unfamiliar garden she had never seen before, but it seemed so familiar. When Dorothy saw the picture of Egypt and the Temple of Seti I, she began to insist that this was where she belonged. Her dreams became more and more vivid. This led the girl to believe that she had lived in ancient Egypt in the past and that she was the reincarnation of an Egyptian priestess. Instead of ignoring her dreams, she traveled to the Egyptian city of Cairo, where she married an Egyptian. Of course, people around the world questioned her story because it involved reincarnation, but Dorothy was not embarrassed. Despite everyone's scorn and skepticism, she claimed to have seen the vision she saw in a dream. She claimed to remember the palace garden in the temple of Seti I. She pointed to a patch of land, and to her surprise, when the site was excavated, the remains of the magnificent garden were indeed in a previously unexplored location. And this is just one of her many predictions about ancient Egypt. Seeing dead people is normal for archaeologists and scientists alike, as they deal with dead bodies and remains almost daily to examine them and learn more about our past. However, some finds still baffle them, and such was the case with the human remains in the so-called Capuchin Crypt. Looking at the picture, people all over the world were puzzled. Who wouldn't be frightened to see several mummies lying on the ground? The Capuchin Crypt is a small dungeon beneath a church in Rome. Visitors from all over the world come to Rome just to catch a glimpse of this macabre landmark. This underground crypt holds the 3,700 bodies of Capuchin monks buried by the order. In 1631, the monks arrived at the church, bringing with them 300 bodies of former members of the order who had died. Their remains have been preserved here ever since. Some of the old skeletons have been taken apart and turned into decorations. Needless to say, this attraction is not for the faint of heart. Do you think you have the courage to visit? Share your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. What are your thoughts on these strange and mysterious discoveries? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not already and come back soon.